Hello and welcome to Matthew Reads, I guess. Now, I do not wish to alarm anyone with what I'm about to say, but the book I'm talking about today is, 1, not only part of a trilogy, I think. 2, it's fantasy, and 3, it's also not queer. Like, I know, don't throw tomatoes at me just yet, I have failed everyone. But today I am in fact talking about Dragon Age Stolen Throne by David Gader, which, I'm gonna be so real, I could not tell you when I got this book, or either the sequel or the third in the trilogy, which is behind the little plant painting there. But I know that I've owned this trilogy of books. It must be for over a decade at this point, and I've just never read them. I know damn well for a fact I bought them after I played Dragon Age Origins on my Xbox 360. Went back when I was in high school, and I think I also did that the same time that I played Fable 2 and Fable 3, and there's a few Fable books that came out and I have them as well. But anyway, the blurb says that when his mother, the beloved rebel queen, is betrayed and brutally murdered before his eyes, young Marek becomes the leader of a rebel army fighting for the freedom of his cruelly repressed nation. In a land controlled by fear and struggling to command a formidable army, Marek's only allies are the outlaw Loghain and Rowan, the beautiful warrior maiden promised to him since birth. Surrounded by spies and traitors, Marek must find a way to not only survive, but achieve Ferelden's freedom and the return of his line to the stolen throne. So if memory immediately serves, my immediate thoughts that I had before reading this book was that Loghain, I'm fairly certain he ended up being somewhat of an antagonist in Dragon Age Origins, and you had the option to kill him in that game. I could be making that up. It's been a long time since I played, to be honest, any Dragon Age games. It's something that, once again, could be making this up. I feel like he declares the character you create and play as and your allies as a threat to basically he calls you a terrorist. But then outside of Loghain as a concept, I absolutely hated the bit on the blurb where Rowan was promised to Marek since birth. I hate the concept personally. I understand in the context of the book and Dragon Age, it's giving fantasy, medieval vibes, Middle Ages kind shit. There's no modern technology or ideologies in these books, so I suppose garbage like that would be a thing. But that did not change the fact that I didn't like it. That blurb really said this woman may have no autonomy. Anyway, the book does in fact and is gonna go ahead and open up on Marek's mother being murdered and him running, but full-on diva sprinting, not just running. Sprinting from the men who murdered his mother. Not mother, but his mother. Anyway, he ends up murdering one of them back. Slay, I guess. And then the POV switches to Loghain, where Marek essentially runs out into this clearing that Loghain and his friends are. But then Loghain Bestie does in fact bring, Bestie Marek. I am going to refer to all of them as Bestie because they all are Bestie. Every main character, unless I hate them, is Bestie. Anyway, in this settlement that the two of them end up in, this is where that they learn Marek is in fact the prince. So Loghain basically gets told to run away with Marek to keep him alive. They end up running into Rowan at some point, and, we must, in fact, queen out with Rowan. Rowan, I get the feeling, would be a Fujoshi, she would like to queen out. And she would Google boys kissing on YouTube. She would Google it. How would she Google it on YouTube? I don't know. But she would do it. But, she brings the boys, the boy besties, the boysties, to this army, which essentially forms the foundation of this book. And now, I don't know. So this book came out, it was either 2009, 2010. Let me consult the book itself. It says first edition March 2010, copyright 2009 by Electronic Arts. So this book came out 2010, so aging this video, this book is 15 years old. Ooh, this book is older than children. this book could well be older than people watching this video. If you're younger than this book, that's upsetting to me. Anyway, that is all to say, this book absolutely fucking loved an adverb. Like, the number of times, even just in the first chapter alone, that someone would have a basic action added onto with an adverb. Like, it really just had me thinking that Miss Diva, like, if you're gonna use that many adverbs, just choose different descriptors. Like, don't just tack an adverb on. Don't have someone say something suspiciously. Don't have someone eye someone suspiciously. You can have them just eye someone. You're like, trust them. Yes, this book is 15 years old, but trust your reader's 15-year-old book. Now, I'll be honest, I also haven't really read any major fantasy no, I'll rephrase that properly. I haven't read any recent major fantasy. However, I do have, like, a fantasy book that, like, came out recently. It is going to go ahead and be Legends and Lattes, which I'm going to read at some point, and I'll get to it at some point. So, like, I don't know if this has changed in the fantasy genre, but there were times in this book where there was just too much exposition. Like, we were just saying things. Like, I don't mean, like, world building, like, settings and peoples and things like that. I mean, there was a section, gonna read off my notes here, where, like, Marek, Logain and Rogan essentially just took 3 years off from the plot to grow an army, and there was just a section where we were told things that they did, and we were told, oh, that made them grow closer. The whole time I was reading it, I was just full on, like, Manila Luzon, like, okay, work.
Okay, work.
Like, it just happened. It was very much telling me that this was all happening instead of showing me it was happening. Like, I feel like the three characters growing closer, you can, like, show that through action rather than just saying that it got closer. There was also the makings of romance between, Marek and Rowan, since they were promised to each other. But, like, even through all that exposition, and with all of the time that was taken, like, the two of them didn't actually have the time together to, like, properly vibe on the page. I'll be real, I found myself not caring whether they got together, and that's not just because they were straight. Like, had it happened later in the book where the two of them had actually had time to get closer, then maybe I would have cared. And, like, I realise I do tend to read, like, more character-driven books, like Rani Shurui Must Die, which, you know, I read for my last video. Don't get me wrong, these character-driven books, they do have plots, but, like, the characters get more time rather than the plot getting more time. Will say one thing I definitely did enjoy about, like, this first book was, like, the tottering, like, between various points of view, like, in chapter. Like, I know a lot of books do multiple POVs, but, like, the bit I liked about this one is, like, yes, we had, like, Marek, Rowan, and Logain getting spotlights, but we also had this guy called Megran, like, who was the king the rebels were trying to, like, overthrow, and basically, I just liked being able to see, like, what everyone was up to, because, like, while you saw besties Marek, Logain, and Rowan all, like, building their army, fighting what they're fighting, like, you could see how Megran was dealing with, like, all of the news that was coming to him, how he was dealing with, like, the people, like, in his castle. Like, there's also this elf called Catriel. She is kind of a diva. Catriel isn't mother, but she's, like, cousin. Like, she's on the way to becoming mother, but she never quite makes it there, so she's stuck at cousin. Like, when she got the POV on her, you saw her essentially just, like, playing every side. So it was quite fun, like, seeing her appear in other people's POVs, knowing that, like, she's betraying literally everyone. And, you know, something I'm going to say as I put the book worryingly close to the camera, the relationship between Logain and Marek, besties here, Mary, it was homoerotic as hell. And, like, you cannot sway me otherwise. It's something about, like, the army setup and the two of them going from haters to friends. Like, I haven't yet, but, like, I bet I could go onto, like, fanfiction.net, Wattpad, Archive of Our Own. You know what, for editing, I will go on one of those websites and I will see if there's a Marek x Logain tag, and I will slap on here right now if there are fanfics of them. Like, you know, despite the fact that this book came out in 2009, and I don't care that these two men were blindingly heterosexual, they explored each other's bodies. They did. Sorry, and you cannot fight me on that one. Like, also, I am gonna spoil this book 'cause it came out in 2010. I don't give a shit at this point. You've had like 15 years to read it. Like, I do not care that there was an epilogue with a random time jump that said Rowan died, like, as queen, and Logain went off and married an unnamed woman. Like, Marek and Logain did explore each other's bodies. Anyway, I think ultimately, now that this video has in fact gone off the rails, this book struggled with, for me, what most books that span, not books, most stories that span multiple books has, and that's for me personally, and I do want to like specifically stress like the personally part there. Like, it's difficult for me to feel satisfied at the end of the first book. Like, that's just an inherent issue with the fact that the story's not over, or like it doesn't feel like it's over. And like, don't get me wrong, there were plot lines that started and ended in this book, like Marek and Catriel, they have a whole romance before like Marek gets together with Rowan. Also, the ending of this book, very underwhelming. But like, things happened, but I just felt like by the end I just felt a bit underwhelmed. No, I say all of this because like I've made my notes and I'm recording this book like I read the 400 pages of this like over 2 weeks, like tens of thousands of words, and like the story isn't over yet, but like the second book has a massively different plot line, so it's kind of like Omega X's first single album, What's Going On, stream What's Going On by Omega X. Like, the best way I can describe this book, which certainly was a book, like, there's this one clip of Miss Fame from season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race where she's not understanding the "how's your head" joke that RuPaul always makes, and then RuPaul asks, "Miss Fame, how's your head?" And Miss Fame's response is, "Fine." And then, I'll be honest, that's how I felt about this book. It was fine. I mean, I'm definitely going to read all 3 of the books in this trilogy. I am currently reading the second one, but I'm doing it like spreading it between books, so I'm not just doing like all 3 next to each other. So you know, let me know, have you read any of the Dragon Age books? Have you played any of the Dragon Age games? And you know, if you have, let me know, and that's it. Okay, bye. Well, gender-neutral girls, we have in fact made it to the second book in the Dragon Age trilogy. I say trilogy loosely because, like, 2 of the stories are kind of connected, but they're also not, and there's no real overarching plot. Anyway, this is Dragon Age The Calling, also by David Gader. So our best friend the Blurb says that after 200 years of exile, King Marek has allowed the legendary Grey Wardens to finally return to Ferelden, but they bring with them dire news. One of their own has escaped into the Deep Roads and aligned himself with their ancient enemy, the monstrous Darkspawn. The Grey Wardens need Marek's help, and he reluctantly agrees to lead them into the passages he travelled through many years before, chasing after a deadly secret that threatens to destroy not only the Grey Wardens, but the kingdom above. Lovely. So this book is gonna go ahead, in fact, open on our new best friend Duncan, who is in fact sat waiting for an audience with King Marek with this mage bitch, mage diva if you will, his mage Steve Fiona. Duncan is actually going to go ahead and be one of the Grey Wardens of the Blurb fame. We love to see it. Snaps for the Blurb's fame. And then it gets mentioned that the Grey Warden who makes it down to the Deep Roads with the old Darkspawn knows the location of the old gods, or at least one of the old gods. And the tea in, like, this book is that, like, if the Darkspawn find one of the old gods, or if they do something with the old gods, that is what causes a blight, basically. And for the 3 people, I say the 3 people, for the people that don't know what the blight is, in Dragon Age context, that's just, like, a Darkspawn invasion. So this book also comes 14 years after the first one, The Stolen Throne, and Rowan, honestly, she's just dead. Just like, she's just dead. They just killed her off screen. Like, why not? Like, there was a line in the first chapter about how she died and everything's changed, and it was just like, sick, I guess. Immediately, what I will say is that I appreciated that this book immediately, it had like more of a solid plot than the first one did. Like, this one, like, the first book was like tra-la-la-la-la, the trio of besties. They're just kind of like vibing and going along and like stealing the kingdom back, but also not really in the book. Whereas this one is like, hey, we need to chase after this bitch who knows secrets. So, you know, I mentioned, I'm just gonna awkwardly hold this out, I mentioned in the first video that, like, the first Dragon Age book, horrendous with adverbs. Like, David Gator the bitch, this whore loves an adverb, or he loved an adverb. Don't know if he still does, because, like, I've read this trilogy of his and nothing else. This one wasn't as bad with adverbs, definitely wasn't as bad, but there was, like, one sentence that I read and I was like, that does not feel right when I'm reading it. And, like, I had to write it down. It said, each time the dwarf danced agilely out of the way. And my whole issue with adverbs is, like, as I have written more as time has gone by, is that so often they just don't need to be there. Because, like, in the context of this, like, the context of the quote that I gave, each time the dwarf danced agilely out of the way, like, the verb danced gets the message across that, like, if they're dancing out of the way, they're gonna be agile anyway. So, like, it suggests agility from the user anyway, so there was just no need for the word agilely, which upsets me that it's a real word. Anyway, as ended up being a theme throughout the entire trilogy was the books pop over through different points of view. Word to my girl Ariana Grenade. And one of the POVs in this book was Bregan, or I think it's pronounced Bregan, it could just be Bregan. He was the bestie who had been taken by the Darkspawn in the Deep Roads, and how I felt about the POVs in this one was very much the same as I felt with the first one. How I thought it worked fine, and, like, I know that's a stupidly basic assessment to make, but, like, it was interesting seeing, like, the journey of the people trying to find Bregan. And then you're also occasionally seeing Bregan underground and, like, what he's doing. So whenever there's, like, a hint of romance in these books, like this one and the first one, they just were not subtle at all. Like, the romance was not good. Sorry, in all three of the books, the romance was bad. Like, 9 times out of 10, it was the case where, like, a male character would look at a female character and suddenly just notice how attractive she was all of a sudden. And, like, we'd be told which of her physical features were attractive. And, I mean, this might just be because I read a lot of romance books. And yes, the next video will just be straight up romance, zero plot. Because, yes, I did need to not think when I read my next book because I was sick of all of the words. But, like, I have a pile of books on my desk. Here is the last one. I don't think I've ever read a series of books where the romance was just so wildly unromantic. Because, like, the romance didn't feel like romance, it just felt like sheer lust more than anything. Like, yes, Marek was telling us that he was in love with Catriel in the first book and then allegedly had feelings for Fiona in this one, which I certainly did not believe, because there was, like, to me, there was no feeling behind any of the relationships. Call me that one song at the end of Alyssa Reed's album, I want to say it's Time Bomb, the song might be Time Bomb, because let's do this once more with feeling. Stream Time Bomb by Alyssa Reed. But saying that, there is one relationship specifically in this book, the Calling Besties, that, like, to me did have feeling, and I will mention it in a moment. I mean, to talk about Duncan as a protagonist for a second, I don't remember how old he actually was in the book, but, like, I don't remember when his age was told to us, but, like, Bestie Duncan is 18. And I could believe that he was 18, I would believe it. With him being 18 and being a Grey Warden, he had literally just come of age. And like, you see him be, like, throughout the book, be inexperienced, immature. And like, I think he'd only been a Grey Warden for 6 months. Like, he was still at that point in his life where he'd essentially take everything personal, you know? Like, there was one point where he literally ran away from the group because they were mean to him. And to be honest, he was probably my favourite character out of the main group. And mind you, I consider the main group. I've not mentioned any characters besides Marek and Duncan, by the way. But to be honest, that is kind of a sad theme in these books. But like, I consider the main group to be Duncan Bestie, Marek, Fiona the Mage, Kel, who was a hunter. I've written Genevieve down. Do not remember who Genevieve was. That's how much of an impact she made. And then Uta, who was a mute dwarf. Uta was Puss. Like, she was Puss Caboodle. Like, I will give her that. And then there were these two called Julian and Nicholas that were also there. And speaking of Julian and Nicholas, like, one thing I almost celebrated about this book is that there were in fact homosexuals in it. We love to see it. Love the representation. I say that, but like, they weren't present enough in the book for me to class the book as queer in any kind, but they were certainly there. And I will say this straight up, Paula Abdul tease, that like, the relationship between those two, like, for as little page time as they got, it was the most compelling, to be honest. Not the most compelling relationship out of all 3 of the books, because in the next book that I'll be talking about in a couple of videos' time, there was a relationship that wasn't properly explored, but to me was compelling. But like, at the point of me when I was making the notes for this video, like, I hadn't read the final book yet, so Julian and Nicholas were the most compelling ones there. Now, will I criticise this? Yes, I will. Why? The bury your gaze of it all. So, there's like... Also, I'm just gonna spoil what happened in parts of these books, because they've been out like more than a decade. So, there's just like... It's partway through the book, there's just a fight with a whole ass dragon. And out of the entire group of characters that are travelling with Marek, who would happen to be the only ones... Actually, no, not the ones, the only one that dies, it's Julian. And mind you, Kel the Hunter and Hafter the Mabari Hound, they end up on the brink of death, but they don't die. But like, Julian is the only one who dies. And I mean, this is no shade, but Hafter could have died. I just remembered who Genevieve is. Genevieve, I don't remember if she was a Templar, but I know that she was a knight. I remember now, because what I'm about to talk about. So, besties, when... like, after they fight the dragon, I think they go into the Fade? Okay, so yes, looking at my notes, yes, it's a horrible thing to say that Hafter the Mabari Hound could have died. Did I want the dog to die? No, but he could have. But, like... You don't even find out that, like, Julian and Nicholas are lovers until this demon sends everyone to sleep, and I believe that's when they end up in the Fade. And, like, you see Nicholas's dream, and, like, his dream is, like, living in a cabin, like a little remote cabin, with Julian, and, like, just living out of their days. And then, obviously, that's where you properly get the reveal of their relationship. And now, guess, out of all of the besties, who is the only one who doesn't make it out of the Fade? It's fucking Nicholas. So, like, the first 2 to die out of the group are the queers. Now, like, don't get me wrong, from a you did see, like... You did see Nicholas get, like, utterly destroyed when he sees that Julian is dead. So like, it made sense that he'd want to stay in the Fade and, like, essentially die in there. because he has his husband back, basically. So, like, did it make sense that he stayed? Yes, but it still pissed me off that, like, they were the first two to die because there was no need for it. But then the thing that really pissed me off, it was like, this book really said, here, you can have queers for half a second, but don't worry about that because Marek needs to have another half-baked romance with another fucking elf. Like, David Gader, don't piss me off. Anyway, now I don't mean to scare anyone with what I am about to say, but this book does in fact have a complete beginning, middle and end. And I mean, this book, for as much as it pissed me off with Julian and Nicholas, like, it was definitely stronger than the first book, like, hands down it was. You know, like, considering the first book had, like, a half-baked storyline and then the crustiest epilogue I've ever written, like, the epilogue of this book actually low-key makes sense, even if it still does PMO. Because, like, at least the epilogue of this second book did fit into the story, because, like, it was literally just a few pages of, like, what happened to the surviving besties who, you know, survived going underground. Word to my girl's 5e stream underground by 5e. Marek has had a bastard child with Fiona. Like, neither him nor Fiona really can raise it, so Duncan just takes it. Cool, I guess. Like I said, David Gader, don't piss me off. Anyway, that was this video. Let me know, have you read any Dragon Age books? Have you read The Calling? Have you read The Stolen Throne? Have you read Asunder? I have. Anyway, that's it. Bye. Well, it's over. I'm pretty sure I used that exact meme at the end of the whatever trilogy years ago, but we're here for the last of the Dragon Age trilogy. It's Dragon Age Asunder. Bestie blurb Tina Aguilera says that in the majestic White Spire at the heart of the Templar power in Val Royeaux, tensions have reached the boiling point. The Seekers, a powerful and secret segment of the Templars, arrive to take command and restore order no matter the cost. To make matters worse, a mystical killer stalks the White Spire's hall, invisible to all save one lone mage. As Rhys is the only one who can see the killer, he's drafted into an expedition travelling deep into the western wastelands of Olay. There, his fate will become entwined with that of a beautiful Templar, a tormented soul, and Wynne, the heroine of the Blight. Together they will uncover a secret far greater than they imagined, one that will change the fate of mages in Thedas forever. So, first of all, a huge fan that this is like the final book in this trilogy that just seems wildly unrelated to the others. Like, I say it's a trilogy. I don't think it's a trilogy. I think it was just 3 books that David Gader wrote. Big fan of this one. Marek is nowhere to be found, so he can't fuck an elf this time. We can't have that as a pointless plot point. You know, thankfully, Marek didn't turn up in this book, despite the fact that there was unnecessary straight romance in this book like the others. I will say I was also an immediate fan of seeing Wynne's name on the back of it, since, like, I believe she's one of the companions you get in Dragon Age Origins. Saying that, I think I barely ever used her because I tended to always play as either a rogue or like a mage that would be the healer, because, like, why would I trust anyone else to do the healing when I can just do it myself? Anyway, this book, we open on Cole. Love Cole. I stand Cole. Cole Nation. Cole Nation, rise up. Where is the Cole Hive? Basically, Cole is essentially a ghost. Like, only select people can see him. Those people being Rhys, and then the people he's about to murder. Love you, Cole, you can do no wrong in my eyes. Then Cole kills this girl who's been kept in the pit in the tower. Just cash, love that for him. He mentions how he's lost when she asks if he's a ghost or a demon. Cole sadly does not know, but then, like, we pop over to Rhys and we're immediately let in on the information that he likes women for some reason. Like, not relevant to the book in the slightest, but we get told. Because, you know, God forbid anyone thinks Rhys is gay, even though he's so homo-coded. Sorry, he is. But anyway, he's a mage in his 40s. No, he's approaching his 40s in this fraternity of mages in the Circle. The Templars, they know about the murders, and they just don't know that Cole is the one who's committing said murders. But then, like, one night, Reese D, our Reese bestie, straight up just sneaks out of his room, and then Full T just asks, "Hey Cole, are you murdering everyone?" And then Cole is like, "Maybe, because if I don't, I'll fade away." And I mean, Cole does appear as just a man to Reese, so I found that interesting, and like I was wondering whether Cole was just another person who lived in the tower or not. But like, towards the end of the book, you do get the answer to like what Cole is and who Cole is. And once again, I'm gonna spoil it because these books have been out for nearly a decade and a half at this point. Like, I believe the answer that was was that Cole was a demon who had managed to forget that he was a demon after the original Cole had been murdered in the tower like years and years ago. I believe that's what it was. And you know, for as much as like a fan of Cole as I am, I'll say he was the best part of this book. Like, Cole was so interesting. I wish there had been more focus on Cole as a character rather than what this book ended up being about, which was more like what it was like to be a mage in the Dragon Age universe and like the political tensions. Like, I will talk about Cole more again later, but like, to me, I think the entire book could have been centered around Cole. Like I do. Since Cole did not know what he was, the book's plot could have like revolved around him discovering that. And like, also why he's murdering these people in the tower as well. And like, you know what, I've already said I am hashtag Team Cole, and I will let my voice be heard on social media and in the comments section. I just found this book to be at its strongest when Cole was the protagonist, and kind of felt like the book dragged when it was the other parts that weren't about Cole. I'll be real, it did. Anyway, the besties of this book, Reese, there was another mage called Adrian, a Templar called Evangeline, Wynn, and there may have been some other people, but they go into the Fade at some point. That was pusscaboodle.org. Like, people besides, like, Reese was the only one that could see Cole, but like when they went in the Fade, like, everyone could see Cole because obviously Cole was a demon. So to send everyone to a place where they could just all see Cole, because like Reese does tell his besties about Cole, but they're all just like, that's weird, that is suspicious. And I'm gonna be so honest, I don't even remember why they went in the Fade, but I just thought it was pusscaboodle.org.com/slaybootsthehousedown3000 when they did, just because I got more Cole. Anyway, the beautiful Templar mentioned in the blurb, that is gonna go ahead and be Evangeline. She and Reese end up together at the end of the book for some reason. And you know, I say for some reason because this book did sadly set up Reese as Straighty McHet, like every other protagonist in these first 3 Dragon Age books, because God forbid any other person besides a straight man exist. But like, my issue, like I mentioned this in I Have My Pile of Books, in my video about Dragon Age The Calling, was that like the romance in these books is really bad. And like, there was no romantic setup between Evangeline and Reese. So like, that's why when they got together in the end, I was like, okay. But like, I remember there was a point, like, I think the closest thing to romantic setup was that like, Adrian kisses Reese because she has feelings for him. But then we also find out that he rejected her before and she had like tried to repress those feelings but couldn't, sadly. It was really weird because Reese and Evangeline getting together, it fully, to me, felt like something that was just like unnecessarily tacked on at the end. Like I think, to be honest, the majority of what I read ends up being romantic or romance. Romance doesn't belong everywhere. And romance did not belong in this book. And like, I don't know why they got together, or like, for me, I don't know what it added to the book. But like, if to be honest, if we are talking about people getting together, honestly, Cole and Reese should have gotten together. That is also not me just talking as someone on hashtag Team Cole. Like, you know what, they didn't need to get together. They could have at least, just confessed their feelings. Like, as a spoiler, once again, I don't care, this book came out in 2011, you've had 14 years to read it. Like, Cole ends up separated from everyone at the end of the book, but like, the whole relationship between Reese and Cole, kind of romantic. Like, what do you mean? Like, the setup was also really interesting. Like, Cole is this like harrowed demon that keeps murdering people that can only be seen by Reese. And like, in the time that the two knew each other, like, Cole considered Reese to be his only friend as well. And like, so Cole and Reese, they had like constantly protected each other throughout the entire time that they'd known each other. So like, they had a deep relationship. It would have made sense for there to have been romantic feelings, to me at least. This was something, like, the protecting each other and having each other's back was something that happened, like, even consistently throughout the book. So like, for me, it makes perfect sense that there would have been some kind of like romantic arc or even just like romantic feelings between the two of them. And like, here's the gag of it all is I didn't even need the two of them to get together. Considering Cole was a demon, like, I guess they couldn't have like physically been together anyway. But like, they could have even just like acknowledged the feelings they had for each other, because is there definitely part of me that's just projecting queerness onto characters that weren't written queer? Yes. But like, I'm not even sorry about it. This isn't even just like fujoshing. Like, this book would have been, even if Cole had have just been into Reese and Reese was straight, I think that would have been better. Anyway, that's it. That's it. Like, the best way I can describe Dragon Age Asunder is that I was given a pile of mud, and then it was up to me to find the treasure that was hidden in the pile of mud. And that treasure was Cole. Like, Cole was the single, like, good part of this book to me. Like, it's just a shame that, like, for as outstanding as Cole was for a character, it's just a shame that I'm covered in mud now. Like, I think the second book in this trilogy of books was definitely the strongest. And then I'd say that the Stolen Throne and Asunder, to be honest, are in a battle for a mediocre second. But like, I think I'd put this one at the bottom of the three just because it committed the cardinal sin of, it bored me. Like, I was bored reading this book when Cole was not, like, the prominent character. Like, I'm so sorry to the, like, Dragon Age community and Dragon Age as I say this. Like, I still love Origins, and I'll be honest, I'm currently replaying the game. Like, me reading this, this set of 3 books inspired me to, like, re-download Origins and start replaying it. So, like, I am still a Dragon Age fan. To me, the issue, this book was just so close to being so good. It was nearly there. I think had it just rerouted its focus to just be on Cole rather than the mages as a whole, I would have loved this book. But like, it just didn't. Sorry, it just didn't. That's it. I've read the Dragon Age books. Am I ever going to reread any of them? No. I'll be... maybe The Calling. Because, no, I don't. Maybe I don't know. Like, I will say I'm definitely glad that I finally read them after having them. You can see it on that dark spot there on my shelf for, like, a decade. Like, I'm very glad that I read them. That I finally have read them, but... I'm just so disappointed. Like, the first book was fine. The second book was good. Like, easily the best of the 3. And this one was so close to being good. It was nearly good. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching this if you made it all the way through. Tell me, have you read any of these books? What did you think if you have? And yes, let it be known in the comments, are you # Team Cole? Because I am.